Why, hello there. Welcome to podcast number 107. Damn. Of Dank Times, Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo. And like the last few podcasts, we're going to try to go rapid fire here with the news stories that I want to kick this podcast off with. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some TV shows I finished and what I think of them. A new show that I was super excited to start. I lasted 2 episodes and I threw my hands up in defeat and said, to hell with this. I saw the new Doctor Strange movie and talk a little about a personal drama that happened the other night where it was scary for a couple hours, but luckily there was some positive closure on all that. And after that, who knows? Who knows? I'm going to talk a little bit more about some Disney villain stuff that I referenced last podcast. And yeah, let's dive in. Let's start with the news here. And this is from the Seattle Times. As you probably aware, if you're a weekly or consistent listener of this podcast, that I am staunchly pro-union. And I've been covering as much as I can and want to do in terms of the current movement to unionize, which has been the strongest I have ever seen in my lifetime of 35 years. However, there are some companies that I tend to cover a lot more than others because they're always in the news, always for negative reasons, in their anti-union beliefs, their union busting, and those two companies tend to be Starbucks and Amazon. Now, I'm taking a break from shitting down Howard Schultz's cavernous mouth. And on this podcast, we're going to only talk about Amazon, which in recent weeks, they've been firing employees from their stores that have chosen to unionize, the biggest one being that Staten Island warehouse. And so it was kind of a shock to me to find out they fired more people from that Staten Island branch. Amazon fires 2 union organizers tied to first U.S. labor win. Now, when I talked about Amazon last week or 2 podcasts ago, I don't remember, they fired people who were anti-union in leadership positions that were towing the company line, and they still got fired for it. So not having a backbone and sucking the dick of the capitalistic cow that is Amazon doesn't always lead you down to the right path. So even when you chose the golden path of actually doing what's right for the workers and the people, that can still get you fired, but at least you can walk out of that shithole job with a little bit of dignity. Amazon has fired 2 employees with ties to the grassroots union that led the first successful U.S. organizing effort in the retail giant's history. The company confirmed that it fired Michael or Matt Cusick, and Tristan Dutchin of the Amazon Labor Union on Staten Island, New York. But it claims the cases were unrelated to each other and unrelated to whether these individuals support any particular cause or group. Now that's all bullshit. I know Amazon has hiring and firing cycles. You would have to fuck up real bad to get fired during an off cycle. And I'm talking bad, like make a racist or sexist comment, put the moves on somebody, or whisper about a union. So I can't believe the rhetoric here. Now, the first one, Matt Cusick, I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's Cusick. Cusick, who knows? Worked at a nearby Amazon warehouse from the one that voted to unionize last month, and he said he was fired due to COVID-related leave. He said he was informed by an agent from Amazon that he was allowed to go on leave until April 29th, but was later fired because his period extended only until April 26th. So again, fucking bullshit. They say now, after the fact, after they terminated me, that the COVID leave actually only extended to the 26th. That discrepancy is how they fired me. Such bullshit. Let's talk about the other one here. Dunchen, who organized the facility that voted unionized, was fired because he failed to meet productivity goals. Her manager said that she had been given 5 warnings since last summer for performance issues and was consistently performing in the bottom 3% compared to his peers despite being offered additional training. Now, coming from a call center that I used to do at Amazon, those performance goals are no joke. in terms of employment status, which is garbage. You can't help if you're trying hard. And by the way, every single call in those call centers are actually recorded. So whenever you have to call a 1-800 customer service number and you have to listen to that pre-recorded message about taking a survey afterwards, and this call is recorded for teaching purposes and all that shit, that's actually true. So the fact that the management and the higher ups can listen to every single call and determine the level of interest, productivity, professionalism on the employee side, they can really make a determination. But if you're in a call center, odds are you're not talking to happy customers. So you're going to get shit reviews from the customers that actually do take the survey afterwards, which is another thing. You should never leave it up to the customers to rate employees at a job. By the way, can we just back up here and say the whole system of ranking anything these days has gotten out of hand? I understand giving reviews to like movies or TV shows or I don't know, restaurants maybe. But if you can leave a review for like tourist attractions or stores or fucking bodies of water, like you could look up the Pacific Ocean on Google Maps or Google whatever, and it has a rating review. The fucking ocean, people can rate on it. Like I'll give the Pacific Ocean 1 star. It smelled a bit fishy. This whole concept that the boomers were raised on and that they force upon us is that the customer is always right. No, the fuck they are. The customers are 99 out of 100 times wrong. So remember that next time you want to go all Karen or Kyle on some poor teenager that's making minimum wage. But yeah, you should not be able to ruin a small business that just opened up by giving them a 1 star because you just felt drunken with your own power. That's what I don't like. If you want to rate movies, TV shows, books, art and culture, that's perfect. That's where I think Yelp is perfect. But Yelp really is just a place for white people to snitch. And I can't stand that shit. I think it should be illegal for Yelp to review small businesses of any kind. Maybe food in restaurants because that can fuck up people. But yeah, I would love churches to get reviewed the same way. Oh, it would be amazing. I would love it if you could rank politicians. That would be another thing. But no, I don't like this power that the entitled Americans hold in their hand when they go on to God knows what website and they leave reviews. I like leaving reviews when I'm drunk and high, late at night, on Amazon about bullshit that I bought while drunk and high. That is fun. But I never, ever if I'm going to leave a 1 star review, I'm not going to leave a review because I know what damage that does. But anyway, so yeah, Amazon is union busting. I mean, come on. You're firing someone for being in the bottom 3%. That one I can maybe kind of understand, but it's still bullshit that you even have quote unquote performance reviews in a job that it's damn near impossible to get good reviews for your job. It's just a way for them to announce these hiring. So when you ever see a large business, predominantly the Walmarts, the Amazons of the world, that says, hey, for the year 2022, we're going to add 200,000 jobs in America. Well, that sounds great. That's awesome. 200,000 people that needed jobs are now getting jobs. But what they don't ever admit or say out in the open is that, yeah, the reason they're hiring 200,000 people is that they either fired 200,000 people or 200,000 contracts expired for temporary employees that weren't getting any benefits. So it's not like they're adding these jobs. They're just replacing the jobs. So don't believe all that bullshit. So whenever you see the new jobs report, like, oh my God, God bless Walmart. That's such a great American company. They added 5,000 jobs. Well, no, you got to look a little bit deeper. But moving on to an act of civil disobedience, stepping up into actual civil violence, which I can't really say I disapprove of, but the fact that I want to keep this podcast up, I'll just kind of make this noise, waggle my finger and shake my head, but just know deep down, I kind of support this. So there was this anti-abortion office in Wisconsin. Now, I'm not going to say the name of this anti-abortion place because I don't want to give them any props because I do not approve of any business or any job or office or any kind of movement that is trying to take away the women's choice of how to do their body. I am absolutely pro-choice. In fact, that is a hill I am willing to die on. I think this whole current climate of abortion, Roe v. Wade being turned over, and hearing just the lunatics say all these outrageous, like Stone Age era, just nonsense. You know, you might as well be burning witches in the town square. Nobody looks forward to an abortion. Nobody, unless they're a very sick individual. Every woman that I know, family or friend, that have talked to me about it, no one's ever said, "Oh, yeah, I had an abortion. It was great. I couldn't wait to look forward to my next one. I actually have a punch card. The 10th one's free." Nobody talks like that. Do you know who does talk like that? Powerful, rich, predominantly white people. You think Donald Trump truly gives a fuck about what Planned Parenthood is doing? Donald Trump probably paid for more abortions than the entire 1970s Lakers. So I don't want to hear this bullshit. However, I am still hearing people talk about, well, late term abortions, you can't agree with that. Who the fuck is on the side of late term abortions? Do you know what late term abortions predominantly are? The mothers do not want them. The mass majority, I'm talking like 80% of what I've seen. Now, true, I could have seen all the wrong reports and wrong data and wrong polls, and I could just be spreading misinformation, but I doubt it. Because again, what woman carrying a child to late term just wakes up one morning, says, "Well, I'm due to give birth any day now, but you know what? I've changed my mind." The likelihood of that happening is so minuscule. You have a better chance of winning the lottery on your home in Mars. It just isn't going to happen. So they don't know. These people that are anti-abortion, they don't know, or if they do know, they ignore it. That the mass majority of late-term abortions, for example, are because the baby has a defect, or that it's going to kill the mother, or that it just didn't develop properly. I follow a lot of female comedians on social media and their podcasts, and of course, a lot of them are talking about it, rightly so. It's unfortunate they have to share such a personal topic with the world, but I know it emboldens people, it strengthens people, so more power to them. I know have a hard time talking about it, but maybe I wouldn't. But my point being, two of the comedians I follow talked about their late term abortions, and both times they were crying, and it was not a happy subject, and it wasn't something they chose to do. They had to, because it was as a matter of life and death with one of them, and the other one said that if the baby was born, it would not have survived. So what a lot of these dumb fucking evangelical cunts don't know is that every now and then, it's higher than most people think, the baby doesn't develop properly in the womb. You may get a fucking foot or an elbow for a brain or a head. So the moment that baby's born, it's going to die. It's truly awful to think about, but that happens in humans and in nature all the fucking time. And so when you hear these anti-abortion nut jobs yelling about this shit, just know you should feel empathy for them because they're ignorant. And if that doesn't work, well, then yes, you can hate and judge them, but just know that they're just stupid and it's not their fault. Well, for some of them, it's not their fault. Some of them are willfully ignorant. Ignorance is bliss is them. They don't want to know and they choose to ignore facts and truth and data because of some white man with a white beard up in supposed heaven is saying all of this is true and accurate, even though the Old Testament talks a lot about abortions and how to do them. But anyway, I digress. Back to this Wisconsin anti-abortion office. It was Molotov cocktailed. Again, boo-hoo. It's bad that, you know, any destruction of property has to happen, but if you're going to destroy property, you better prove a point, and I think this did it. Not only was it Molotov cocktailed, which, and now all of this is being charged as an arson, obviously, but there was a message spray painted into the walls that said, "If abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either." Kind of hard to not agree with that sentiment with the way that this country is going. If under 20% of people want abortion outright illegal in all circumstances, no matter what, then that's not okay. That is when you do have to choose a side. And I don't want to hear all this bullshit about, well, you're a man, and how can you be talking about this? You don't know. But I was predominantly raised by women. I have seen what their life is like, and what a lot of these suburban males do not know, they're oblivious to what life for women really is. And I'm not saying I'm much smarter, but at least I understand that I don't know something, and that's a step in the right direction. Admitting what you don't know is a positive thing the mass majority of the time. Why lie? Why guess when you can just say, you know what? I don't know. Let me go figure it out. For example, I was getting chewed out at work the other day, kind of caught me off guard, but then I looked at what this person was telling me and I looked at what they were referencing and I realized, oh, I can understand why this person is chewing me out. I may not agree with everything this person is saying, but looking at what I did, I could see how I did it wrong. I misunderstood something. And I said that. I said, you know what? I absolutely agree. I did mess up because this was my understanding. This is not what is supposed to be done. So I'm going to change this. So thanks for bringing it up to me. And then the chewed out calmed down, and then we became a pretty amicable conversation. Do I wish it started out that way? Great. Yes, of course. But that's not how life is. And so you have to just sometimes bite the bullet, so to speak, and say, ooh, I just don't know, but I'm going to listen. I'm going to try to learn. And if you're willing to do that, I think that this anti-abortion nonsense would quickly dry up and fizzle away. But unfortunately, there are some stalwarts in here that are never going to move, never going to budge, and somehow they have money, they have power, they have clout, and they can make shit happen. If only the Democrats and the progressives had the power to do what these lunatic fringe evangelical, they may say they're pro-life, but they're not. These people tend to be pro-life when it comes to abortion, but then capital punishment, ooh, they love it so much. Love it. They love the death penalty. They like not having free health care. They like making kids pay for school lunches and going into debt. They like all this shit. They don't understand what life truly means because they never had to suffer for anything. Or if they did, it retarded them in a way that they couldn't learn from their lessons. But anyway, let me get off my soapbox here, and I have to do something that I hate doing, which is agree with Rand Paul. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Rand Paul has a point. I have agreed with him in the past, and each time I feel like agreeing with Rand Paul takes 5 years off of my life. But my mission here on this podcast is to always tell, to the best of my ability, both sides. I will hold the Democrats' feet to the fire, just like the Republicans and the progressives and whoever else. So, when they're right, they're right. So, what am I agreeing with Rand Paul about? Well, in case you don't know or haven't heard, the Biden administration is very concerned about misinformation online. Just now they are. And leave it up to the Biden administration to snuff out what's true and what's false. That should scare everyone, even if you're a Biden supporter. I don't want the government being able to tell me what's right and wrong. Regardless if I'm a Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, it doesn't matter. The government shouldn't do this. In my opinion, it should start when you're a child with the education. You should be taught in schools common sense, especially in this day and age when anybody can put anything online and fucking mooks will believe it. So that is putting a lot of power into teachers' hands and just overall the education system's hands, which the public education is never in question in this country, are they? Oh God, we're doomed. So when I heard that the Biden administration is creating a ministry of truth, and I see that the person that is going to head it is from the Department of Homeland Security, and I'm drawing a blank on what this jabroni's name is, but I think it's going to be talked about on this video I'm going to play from Breaking Points, Crystal and Sagar. I've played many of their videos for y'all, so check them out on the YouTube's Breaking Points. And I do not want the Joe Biden administration to be in charge of what's truth and not, because they're liars. Just like everybody else in that government. Not more so than the Republicans. Obviously, in my opinion, the Republicans lie a million times more than the Democrats. However, there's still a lot of lies going on. There's still a lot of cover-ups. All you need to do is look at the past under this administration, covering up the Hunter Biden stuff, covering up the lab leak stuff, And it can go on and on and on and on. They're kicking conservatives off social media platforms at such a higher rate than any other political affiliation. And yeah, some of them are deservedly so, but a lot of them, and I would even say the majority of them, should not, in my estimation, be kicked off. I believe that Donald Trump should be allowed back on Twitter. As long as Twitter does a good job of labeling bullshit and Twitter can get a better believable system in place so that people don't hate them so much, so that when they do label something misinformation, the mass majority of people will believe it. As long as that thing is either permanently or just follows Trump around whenever he does say something that's completely wrong and disingenuous or just is absolutely misinformation, and put that label there, people will believe it. As long as there is a backbone and a spine in those decisions. You can't just be kicking people off because the people that run that company tend to be more liberal centrists, so then anything else is going to get snuffed out. But anyway, I can go on and on and on about online censorship. However, let me just play this video here, which kind of is going to back up what I believe in here. But unfortunately, it's coming out of the forked tongue mouth of Rand Paul.
Do we have policies? Do we have guardrails? Do we have
But here's
standards
the
to
problem.
enforce?
We can't even agree. We can't even agree what disinformation
This
is.
is-
You
well-
can't even agree that it was disinformation, that the Russians fed information to the Steele dossier. If you can't agree to that, how are we ever going to come to an agreement on what is disinformation so you can police it on social media?
Good point.
I think you've got no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Are you familiar with McNamara, the Pentagon Papers?
Yep.
Are you familiar with George W. Bush and the weapons of mass destruction?
Yep.
Are you familiar with Iran-Contra?
Keep going,
I
baby.
mean, think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech. You think we can't determine, speech by traffickers is disinformation? You think the American people are so stupid they need you to tell them what the truth is? You can't even admit what the truth is with the Steele dossier. I don't trust government to figure out what the truth is. Government is largely disseminating disinformation.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And it's shitty that it's Rand Paul that is saying it. By the way, that guy whose name I couldn't think of that is going to head this Ministry of Truth is Alejandro Mayorkas, and he looks like a bald dick thumb. So fuck that guy, and fuck Rand Paul, but when you're right, you're right. But let's move on. I had to take a quick break just now and snarf down my Uber Eat dinner. I don't think I even chewed. I think I just swallowed the whole thing whole. I was so hungry. I ordered Greek. I tend to fluctuate between Greek and Mexican on Uber Eats. I used to sprinkle in sushi and pizza, but for the last few months, it's been Mexican and Greek, back and forth. I don't know why. I just been in the mood. In the Mexican place, I'm such a fat fucking American. I never order anything but their breakfast burrito. My mouth is watering just thinking about it, and I just finished my Greek food. So I am always going to be a fat kid at heart. You know what lyric in a song growing up really hit hard with me was 50 Cent. I forget the song. One of his lyrics was, I love you like a fat kid loves cake, or I'm going to eat you like a fat kid eats cake. Something. He referenced he's going to do something like a fat kid to cake. And that resonated with me so hard because I thought, yeah, there's a lot of things I'd like to do as much as I love cake. Like if I could equate my love of desserts to like a goal, I think I would accomplish a lot more in my life. But anyway, I digress. The Greek food was good. It was a chicken. What the hell is this? It's like their version of a burrito. It was on the end of the first Avengers movie. Whatever. I'm high. I can't remember. Shawarma, chicken shawarma. Damn, that shit's good. But anyway, last news story: Israeli forces kill or allegedly murder Al Jazeera reporter. Now, this is going to be a little difficult to not get me worked up because I am a staunch supporter and believer in protecting whistleblowers, respecting actual journalists. That's why I spend my time listening to news and doing due diligence in my research because I don't want to be someone who comes on here, just another white boy with a podcast, and start saying just bullshit opinions without really ever backing it up. So I try to do my due diligence, even though I don't know how many listeners I have. I don't ever look at that shit. Sometimes SoundCloud sends me a report, And sometimes it shows that I have like 200 listens in a day or some shit. And then other days I get 2 listens in a week. So I don't fucking know. It fluctuates. I don't know. So my point being, I hold journalists in high esteem. Journalism is my major from college. Media and well, it's media relations, media studies, and journalism. It's all kind of one degree. It's all useless. I mean, I work in music. It's not exactly journalism. So what it did teach me is why journalism is important to a democracy. You have got to have freedom of speech. You have got to protect journalists. You got to protect whistleblowers, yada, yada, yada. So when I see some worrisome trends over the last few years when it comes to how the U.S. handles whistleblowers, both Obama, Trump, Biden, everyone has said in my lifetime that they want to support journalism. They want to protect whistleblowers. But then I see that we want to arrest the WikiLeaks guy. We want to bring in Edward Snowden. There is that guy who transitioned to a woman that helped Snowden. I'm drawing a blank on her name. And there's been some other journalists that need America's protection and they don't get it. Steve Donziger just got it released. There's another one. I mean, you just look at what they say and what they follow through. It's very scary to me. Plus, you saw Trump just war on journalism, which I think it needed a little bit because there was a lot of misinformation and fake news out there. He was right. But just like everything in this country, when there's a kernel of truth or a kernel of goodness in something, it has to get manipulated and mutated into something gross. And then you started having people like actually talking about murdering journalists or going to their houses and fucking with them. Like everything suddenly is up for debate, even facts and truths based on a journalism's career. You can back it up. Whoever journalists you hold in high esteem, I hope these people have a history that you can look back on and believe in. You're not just saying it because they're on TV or because they tend to write shit that you agree with. You want to hope that they know what they're talking about. They can back it up. But anyway, so besides all this whistleblower and anti-journalism that's rising in this country, you also are seeing that America isn't willing to do shit when other countries murder journalists. Need I bring up the Saudi Arabian prince murdering Jamal Khashoggi? He was a Washington Post, I believe, journalist. I mean, well respected. The guy is one of the better journalists that newspaper and we had in this country. And not only was he murdered and butchered, but there's evidence of it all, and we just don't care. We don't care that a foreign country openly kidnapped, murdered, and butchered and disposed of the body of a journalist. We just don't care all of a sudden. And in fact, we're going to give that country money and weapons? How does that not make you throw up in your sleep at night? I just don't get it. And now there is ample, credible evidence, but at this point, it is alleged that Israel, either directly or indirectly, killed a Al Jazeera journalist named Shireen Abu Akleh. At first, it was announced that she died around the Palestinian-Israeli border, and that area is under dispute, and that there may have been an accidental on the Israeli side shooting weapons and accidentally hitting the journalists, or could it have been Palestinian violence behind them? Like, there was a lot of bullshit coming out. We didn't really know. It was all hearsay, she said. We don't know. But then you started to hear from the people who actually were on the ground during the attack, and they said, all of them are saying this, every single one, is that it came from the Israeli side. And not only was it like a misfire, like a bullet came out of nowhere, but that she got shot in the head. So, what does that mean? So suddenly, there is alleged evidence that the Israeli the Israeli military, I don't want to say Israeli government, it could have been a lone gun, I don't know. I'm not an expert in any of this, okay? I just follow this shit. The New York Times and Washington Post and all these other major newspaper outlets did release a little story about this, but their language was very iffy on it. It was not showing kind of both sides because this journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh, she was, unfortunately, she was a Palestinian American journalist who had worked for the Al Jazeera, Arabic language media outlet, for over 25 years, and she was insanely popular in the Middle East. She is the equivalent of, well, who do you think your top journalists in this country are? You got the Bob Woodwards, Walter Cronkites. Say what you will about the Anderson Coopers and Rachel Maddows and Lester Holtz and the Fox News douches as you may. At one point, at a time or another, every now and then, they do get something right. You know, a broken clock is right twice a day. And then we even look at the Dan Rathers, Barbara Walters, Tom Brokaw's. Anyway, my point being, she was the equivalent of that in the Middle East. And so her death is a big fucking deal. Now, whether it be a death or a murder, that's up for debate, and the investigation is ongoing. However, Israel is investigating it on their terms. So I highly doubt that if it actually, and I hope it wasn't, I hope I'm wrong on this, but if it actually was, someone on the Israeli military said, we're going to take out these journalists finally, because let's not forget, they did bomb the AP News building a couple months ago, and they thought it was an accident, but how they, like, everyone knew it was a journalist building. They had journalist signs all over it. I don't remember if anyone died, but still, the Israeli military bombed a press building. That was not that long ago, and now you have this. And it both happens to be news outlets that kind of show both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I believe there's evil on both sides, although I do think Israel is a bigger bully at this point. However, you can't ignore that, you know, Palestine does every now and then shoot a rocket into occupied territory where there's people and children and whatnot. That shit does happen, but unfortunately, I'm not going to get into all this. This is not a podcast about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. My point being, Israel may or may not have allegedly killed this very influential, very popular journalist. And then to make matters worse, during the actual funeral procession, which was, again, in Palestine, but it's around this disputed territory. But again, you would think that because of this funeral is such a big deal to the people of Palestine, that you would show a little bit of respect and not fuck with them, because there is nothing happening in Palestine around this area during this funeral procession, because it's a big fucking deal to Palestine. So people aren't taking advantage of that on the Palestinian side. However, the fucking Israeli police started attacking the funeral procession, including those people who were holding up the casket, the pallbearers. They started beating them. And whenever a Palestinian person would occasionally fight back or swing back, they would get beaten the fuck up. And then they beat these pallbearers so bad that the casket actually dropped. And like, what is happening? This country loves Israel. We turn a blind eye a lot of the time to not only Israel, but to Saudi Arabia and a lot of other of our supposed friends in the Arab world. But at a certain point, you got to stand up. I mean, can you imagine if we had a journalist in Israel? Let's say we sent, oh God, I'm trying to think who is a current, well-respected journalist by like both sides. I don't know, but okay. Let's say Dan Rather is like 20 years younger, and he is sent over to Israel, and he gets killed by the Israeli government. And then during his funeral, some Israeli government officials show up and start beating heads. Can you imagine what America would do if it was someone of important status here? We didn't do shit when it was Jamal Khashoggi, but if someone was a little bit more clout, can you imagine if it was Anderson Cooper or Rachel fucking Maddow that got killed? I mean, Jesus, you can only imagine the outrage. But yeah, scary times to be a journalist in the Middle East or anywhere at this point in the supposed civilized world. But with that, we're done with the news. We're going to lighten things up and talk about how I would fare with the Disney villains in a battle to the death gladiator royale. So continuing a segment that I had a lot of fun doing last week, ranking what I would do in a fight to the death with a bunch of the Disney princes, I thought let's continue this with the Disney characters and look at villains. Now, when I was doing some research on the Disney villains, there's just too damn many. There's over, I think, 50 or 60 of them, and that's just too much. I mean, I'm not going to do a whole podcast about fighting Disney villains, but I did whittle it down to the top 20 overall, so we're cutting out some of the fat, some of the useless ones, and going with the quote-unquote top 20 Disney villains and villainesses. I've seen some of it, but I don't see gender, so I just call everyone a villain. And so this is going from worst to first. But these are the top 20, so every one of these is pretty good. But the worst of the 20 is Hopper from Ants or A Bug's Life. Whatever, which one of those is a Disney Pixar movie? I don't remember. I should back up here and reiterate the rules. There's 4 categories in this gladiator-esque Roman Coliseum fight to the death. You got the first category, which is I would stomp the villain's ass, like straight up murder or just kick the shit out of. Category 2, it would be a fair fight, 50-50. You can't really predict who's going to win. It's just, it's the more even fight out of the other options. The third outcome is I get my ass whooped. I get pwned, and they can humiliate me however they see fit. The fourth option would be that they would straight up wipe my ass out. I'm talking night, forever sleep, baby. They would kill me. And looking through this list, there's going to be some surprises here. But I think I'm going to hold my own a little bit because I'm trying to keep it real. Some of these characters do have magic, so I think I'm fucked there. But some of them don't have much going on for them. And so I think, there's going to be a little bit of a surprise here, 1 or 2. But anyway, let's rewind back to number 20 here. Hopper from whatever Bugs Pixar movie that was. I think it's A Bug's Life. Yeah. So it's just a grasshopper. Unless it's a human-sized grasshopper, I'm going to get my ass whooped. But if it's like a grasshopper size, I'll just step on it. And the fact that it's Kevin Spacey, I would think that he would also have an erection as I stomp him out because he's a freaky bitch. All right, moving on to number 19. We have Randall Boggs from Monsters U. What was the first one? Just Monsters? The one with Sully. You know what I'm talking about. Monsters, Inc. Man, I am high as a motherfucker. Anyway, Randall Boggs. I mean, he is a monster. So I think more often than not, he would kick the shit out of me. But I don't know how big he is or anything. I mean, he kind of looks like a salamander kind of snake thing. I don't know, man. He can change color like a chameleon. I don't know. It would be a trip. So you know what I'm going to say? I think it's going to be a 50-50 fight with Randall Boggs on Monsters, Inc. 50-50 fight. Because I think once I can get a hold of him, I can just squeeze him like an actual newt or salamander. It would be a quick fight. But, he is an actual monster, so you can't count him out all the time. Number 18, Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. And again, I haven't seen the movie, but going off of just her picture, she looks like an old broad, so it shouldn't be that difficult. But I also don't know if she has magical powers, which I assume she does because she turned that motherfucker into a llama. So she's magical. I think she's going to murder me pretty quickly. If she can turn a guy into a fucking donkey or llama, imagine what she would do to me when it's a fight to the death. She would just turn me into, like, I don't know, a frog or some shit, and then she would just walk over and step on me. I mean, or an ant or a spider. I mean, it would be easy, So yeah, that's my first death right there. Is Yzma, whatever her name is. Number 17, Sid Phillips from Toy Story. Again, he's a troubled kid, so I feel kind of bad because he's probably getting hit at home. That's why he's such a little asshole to those toys, and he's a bully at school, and you just have to wonder what his home life is like. Are his parents putting out cigarettes on him? Are they taking the belt to him? Are they taking the switch to him? And you just don't know. He's just a troubled kid. And I feel like any kind of fight I give him is just going to make his life worse. But since it's a fight to the death, I'm absolutely going to take out this fucking kid. Because let's face facts, people. This kid is a wash. He's going to end up in prison. He's going to end up murdering somebody in a busted robbery or some shit. I mean, this kid is going nowhere in life anyway. Unfortunately. I don't like to say these things about people I've never met, but Sid Phillips is a washout. Although I need to clarify this because I just remembered he is in either the last one or the third one as a garbage man or something. So, okay, maybe he cleaned up a little bit, but I'm still whooping that kid's ass. I'm sorry. At this point, if I'm fighting him from Toy Story, he hasn't become a better person yet. He hasn't enlightened himself yet. So I feel like I would take out the trash pretty easily on this one. All right, moving on to number 16. Shan Yu from Mulan. Oh yeah, he's killing me real quick. I don't think I'd stand a chance. He would just grin evilly at me with his strangely racist cat eyes, and I would just be frozen with terror because before I would even take a breath, he'd be right up on me, ripping my heart out, Mortal Kombat style. So yeah, Shan Yu would kill me so easily. So moving on to Ratcliffe from Pocahontas. Oh, this British bitch. I would beat his ass, and then I would waterboard him for being racist and wanting to not only, kill the savages and do God knows what to Pocahontas, but he probably wanted to skin her friends too, like the raccoon and the other animals. So fuck this guy. He's getting waterboarded. I think it'll be a pretty easy fight. Although he does have a pair of shoulders on him, but he doesn't scare me all that much. He has that smug look on his face. I would take a lot of pride in beating his ass. So moving on to, oh shit. Now, if you think I was happy kicking the shit out of Ratcliffe, I would enjoy nothing more than just beating this guy's head into just pink mist. And this is Frollo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Hunchback? The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Oh man, Cloud Frollo is such an evil religious zealot fanatic. I would enjoy nothing more. He's probably the number one villain that I would look forward to fighting. And oh man, I'm not gonna kill him. I'm gonna embarrass him bad. I'm gonna do things to him that's gonna make him gay, and then he's gonna question his religion because gays are bad according to his zealotry. So then he end up offing himself because he couldn't fight the passionate urges that I forced into him that he could never fight back, and he was stuck with them, and he can't live like that. So yeah, it would not only would I defeat him and embarrass him, but I would ruin his life. That'd be awesome. Moving on. Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog. I haven't seen this movie. It's another one, just another miss. And I'm looking at him. If he can turn motherfuckers into frogs, he's magical, which means a fight to the death. He's going to kill me. Easy peasy. He'll probably turn me into a toilet paper and take a shit on me and just suffocate me. I don't know, man. But that's how I see that fight turning out. Moving on to number 11 or 12. Moving on to number 12. Shere Khan. Oh shit. I mean, it's a goddamn tiger. Yeah, I don't stand a chance. Shere Khan's gonna kill me in like 5 seconds. He's gonna run at me and growl with his fucking giant claws, his murder paws. And even if I get a quick move and I can do something, unless I have a weapon, I am toast. So yeah, Shere Khan's gonna wipe me out quick. And then since he is a big cat, he is going to go for my throat and really just knock me out. So I will give him credit for killing me quickly. Big cats in the wild. If that's how you're going to go, that's not a bad way to go. If you think about it, if you're going to die in the wild between like a big cat, a bear, a wolf, you name it, big animal, you have to go with the big cats because a bear is just going to maul you and you're probably still going to be alive and it's just going to start eating you from wherever he's closest to, and you could be alive during the whole thing, just in agony. Have you ever seen those horrific videos of a bear just eating a moose alive, and the moose is alive and just like making the most horrific noises? Ugh, I don't even want to talk about it. And wolves are assholes too. They always go for the asshole and eat you from the outside in. Oh, it's disgusting. I mean, dogs, oh man, dogs and wolves, those guys are cunts, but they're cute. You see a wolf and you're like, I just want to scratch it behind its ears, even though I know I'm going to die. It's so cute. But yeah, fighting a tiger, it's going to go through my throat. Just hold it down, and it'll hurt for maybe a couple seconds, and then I'll be done. And I'll probably be relieved because of all the pain and the fact that a tiger is staring at me. Ugh, creepy as a motherfucker. But yeah, Shere Khan, quick death. Number 11, Hades from Hercules. Well, just like Hercules would have killed me, Hades would kill me instantly. I mean, he's the god of the afterlife there, the god of the underworld. So shit. He'd probably turn me into his demon fuckboy or something. I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past him. It's James Woods, who is a fucking nut job too. Decent actor. If you're counting 80s and 90s movies, since the 2000s, it's been a train wreck. But yeah, he would kill me real quick. Set me on fire or some shit with his exorcist powers. All right, now we're in the top 10. Wicked Stepmother from Lady Tremaine. Oh, wait, Wicked Stepmother. She's also Lady Tremaine. Okay, yeah, from Cinderella. She's an old broad. I would just push her down the stairs and her hip would break. Easy peasy. Next, number 9, Gaston. Ooh, this would be a fair fight. Even though Gaston is built like a fucking god, he's dumb as shit and he's probably emotional. And I could probably get into his head a little bit, talk a little shit, talk a little smack, and I can maybe have him make mistakes or something. However, if he gets me in a headlock with his like 30-inch biceps, he would just pop my head like watermelon. So I would say it's a fair fight, but I keep looking at this picture and I mean he's like doesn't even make sense how strong and bulky he is. So God, but he's such a cocky, egotistical cunt that I feel like I could just make him do some fuck ups there. He could mess up some stuff. But again, what am I going to do? His neck is thicker than my torso. You know what? I'm going to have to change this to I would get my ass kicked. I don't think he would kill me, but he definitely would kick the shit out of me. I don't think I stand a chance against Gaston. Just going off of the drawings and my memory of the movie, I mean, he's built like a shit brick house, if that's even a saying. Or did I just make that up? Anyway, moving on to number 8, Captain Hook. Well, this is kind of unfair because he has a fucking knife as a hand. Well, a hook. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I'm calling a hook a knife, but it's a weapon. It's a stabby. And that's kind of unfair. But then it's also unfair he only has one hand in case we get in close. But if we get in close, he can just rip my chest open and have my insides pour out of me like wet spaghetti. So I think Captain Hook, more often than not, would kick the shit out of me because of that fucking hook. Now, if I can grab the hook without slicing my fingers off and, like, take it off of him, then he's fucked. So maybe I'm going to upgrade this to a 50-50 fair fight. But it's all contingent on that fucking murder weapon of his. And if I can get my hands on it without getting my fingers or my hand all fucked up and chopped up, yeah, because he's a little bitch too and he's old. I mean, he can't even kill Peter Pan, who's a little twink, come on. So yeah, a 50-50 fight with Captain Hook. Number 7, Jafar. Well, I think if Jafar, without his powers and without Gilbert Gottfried the parrot, which I still haven't got over Double G's death. Gilbert Gottfried is one of the first comedians I enjoyed for being a comedian, not just an actor. But anyway, we got to keep it on here. If it's just Jafar, he's an old man, and I feel like I could kick the shit out of him pretty easy. And without his powers, he poses no real threat to me. But if he's got the parrot with him, it'll make a little distraction. But if he's got his powers, he's going to kill me. So I think, I don't know. I'm gonna choose Jafar without the magical powers because he was a villain without his powers, and he was a pretty bad villain too. So maybe it'd be a fair fight, but he's old, but he does have that cane. Okay, it'll be a fair fight. I'm upgrading it. I was a little cocky. I apologize, Jafar. I thought that I would kick the shit out of you because I do remember you being a little bit buffoonish in the beginning of Aladdin, but you figured it out. So it all depends on when I'm getting them. So I'll keep it a fair fight just to be fair to Jafar because I don't know what Jafar I'm getting. Moving on. The Evil Queen and the Mirror from Snow White. I mean, it's another old broad, but I think she has magical powers, doesn't she? Yeah, because she was like talking to the mirror. By the way, I would smash the mirror easy. Like I would look at the mirror and he would try to talk sweet to me, be like, "Oh, hey, baby, you want to see what you're going to look like if you was black like you've always wanted?" I'd be like, "Nice try." And then I would just push it over and smash it into a bunch of pieces. So the mirror poses no threat. But the Evil Queen with her weird powers, isn't she the one that made a apple or some shit and it poisoned her? Or is that another Disney hua? I don't remember. Did the Evil Queen have the apple? I think so. I think I'm gonna assume she did. Or is that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? I don't know. There's too many bitches falling over from eating poisonous shit. Just because Eve liked apples, Disney ran with that stereotype. Oh, fucking Eve. She didn't stand a chance in history. Because you know who wrote those history books. But yeah, the Evil Queen I think would kill me because she has magical powers, unfortunately. Moving on to number 5. Mother Gothel, or Gothel from Rapunzel. Rapunzel's in the movie Tangled. She's another old broad, but I think she's got magical powers. So because of that, I think she would kill me. But if I remember right, she doesn't have like crazy magical powers, but she still has magical powers. Who knows what she can do? Damn, these magical bitches aren't fair. Like I don't stand a chance. Damn, I'm dying a lot here. I'm getting my ass killed just as much as the princes. I mean, I think going by history here, the princesses would wipe the floor with me. All right, so now we're in the top 4 here. Scar. Okay, well, I'm gonna die again, a fucking lion. And you know Scar is a bad pimp motherfucker. He's not gonna give a fuck. He may actually bring me to the point of death, have his way with me in a sexual way, and then he says, after all, I'm not gonna kill you. And then he's gonna call in those racist hyenas and they're gonna finish the job. Oh man, Scar. I think Scar may be, if not number 1, he's definitely in the top 5, in my opinion, of the top Disney villains. Now, he is consistently in that top 5 when I was looking online at a bunch of other lists, but even without all this, this what I call research here, even before this, I would have Scar easily top 5, if not number 1, honestly. I mean, he scared the shit out of me in The Lion King, and The Lion King is one of the best Disney movies. But anyway, let's continue to the list here. We have Ursula from The Little Mermaid. See, this one is strange to me because she's just a drag queen with tentacles. However, she is pretty big. And I feel like when it's a fight to the death, she would get her tentacles around me pretty quickly. Nothing I could do. And then she would just rip me apart. I would try to talk my way out of it as much time as I got. I said, please, I know you're just a horny old MILF. Let me pleasure you and maybe you can let me go. And she's going to think about it. And that's when I'm going to have to act. But I don't think I'll be quick enough. I think she'll smell out my fake horniness and realize I'm trying to play with her emotions. And that's going to make my death even worse. So as much as I like to think I could maybe take out Ursula, maybe it'd be a fair fight. Maybe. I think because of those giant ass tentacles. And she's pretty fast. Even on, well, I guess if we're fighting on land, it'll be a different story. But I guess if we're fighting gladiator style, they would throw some water down there to make it easy to her. Because that's only fair. So yeah, if it's level playing field with a little bit of water so she can move around, I don't stand a chance. If it's no water, then yeah, she can't do shit. And then I would just kick her head until she's not moving. But I think they would give her a little bit of water. So yeah, I'm definitely dying on that one. All right, top 2. Maleficent. Yeah, I mean, this one, she's a witch and she's got powers and she's Angelina Jolie and she's got giant horns. What the hell did she do? Is she the one that gave the poisoned apple? Oh, well, I don't remember. But yeah, she's got magical powers and she's a witch and she's got giant fingernails that she would just whip really quickly across my throat and I'm not going to feel anything. And then my throat's going to open up and it'll just be like a Tim Burton style death. So yeah, I think she would kill me pretty easily. God, these magical bitches don't give me a chance. So number 1. Now this is consistent what I've seen. Number 1, worst villain in all of Disney history. This wouldn't be my personal one, but I can see why the mass majority of the people I've seen have said that this is the number 1 Disney villain. Makes sense, but I wouldn't do it. It's Cruella de Vil. Now I understand why she's consistently number 1. Because she wanted to murder a bunch of puppies for clothes. And that's just awful. You're murdering puppies for clothing that doesn't even look that good. But is she the worst? I think Scar is definitely more of a villainous asshole, like evil, than Cruella de Vil. But now that I'm thinking about it, she's going to kill 100 puppies. Yeah, she's in the top 5. I'll give her that. I have to think about it more. But in terms of the gladiator fight, she's an old dame. She wouldn't stand a chance. And plus, she's all uppity in high class society. So she'd be like, oh, I don't want to get dirty. So I would just hit her a few times and maybe strangle her with one of her ill-gotten apparel and call it a day. So yeah, we end on a high note. I think I could wipe out Cruella de Vil pretty easily. And to do it with such style, by strangling her with her own clothing that she probably murdered 75 red foxes or bludgeoned 120 baby seals to make these loafers or some shit. I don't know. That iconic Simpsons episode where they spoofed it with Mr. Burns is also just fucking amazing. But with that, I think we can wrap up the whole Disney gladiatorial fight thing. I was thinking about continuing it with the princesses, but doesn't sound that interesting to me. And most of them are like teenage girls and shit, and so I would be hitting a bunch of teenagers, and I don't find a lot of humor in that. So excuse me, but I may do Disney sidekicks. Who knows? But let's move on here. So quickly here, I want to talk about some TV shows. Talk a little bit about the Doctor Strange sequel. I finished Outer Range. Big disappointment. It turned out to be a real pile of shit TV show, which is sad because it started off so good. I recommended it to a bunch of people after the second episode, but I told everyone that I recommended to that just watch out. The show looks good, but it's so wacky and wild and out there, and the premise is pretty nuts. TV shows that are like this usually flame out and get turned to shit real quick. Look at Lost. And that's exactly what happened here. However, the way that they ended makes me think that there has to be a season 2, but I'm going to tell you right fucking now, Outer Range creators, and if you're listening, and I hope that you are, if you don't answer some goddamn questions in the first or second episode of season 2, I'm done with ya. And you're wasting hell of a performances by Josh Brolin. And who plays the autumn hippie chick? Imogen Poots? Boy, what a last name, Poots. Poots. That's the sound a queef makes, right? Poot, 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 poot. But it's just a fucking stupid show in a lot of ways. And they have all these other subplots going on that make no sense or are really boring and stupid. So, Outer Range, I'll give you this. First 2 episodes, I would say first 3 episodes, damn near 8 out of 10. The last 6 episodes, maybe the last 5 episodes, all 4s. The finale was horrific. So Outer Range, do better next time. I also finished Tokyo Vice. Damn good show. Although it surprised me. I did not think there would be a season 2. So like Outer Range, surprise, surprise, they're going to be doing a season 2 of Tokyo Vice. Which I thought, damn, you got Josh Brolin on Outer Range, and then you have Ansel Elgort and Ken Watanabe on Tokyo Vice, and all of them are signing up to do TV shows now. That tells you how bad Hollywood is right now. Movies are trash. I will say Tokyo Vice had some moments of dullness and boredom, and they followed some characters that really wasn't worth the payoff. But I will say, overall, the show is damn good. I will give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. I would have gone higher, but only because there's so many loose ends on the finale that I was a little dissatisfied with where it was. I feel like we, as an audience, went through hours of this TV show. We should have got payoff on a few more things than what they gave us. Just like Outer Range. They gave us one big answer. That was it. Just one. The rest, fuck yeah. So, but at least Tokyo Vice was a better show overall than Outer Range. Because then you got the penultimate, the best of the best, cream of the crop, The Expanse. I finished season 6. Is it season 6 that I just finished? Hold on. Yeah, season 6. Damn good show. Again, not a lot to complain about. This show is pretty good. It gets a little cheesy every now and then with the dialogue, but it always usually pays off. Oh man, this show is for such a niche audience that I don't know if it would be marketable to a wider audience. But I've talked about this ad nauseum. Check out The Expanse. If you care about rankings and everything, it is the top rated TV show all time at number 220. So out of all the TV shows in the history of television, it's number 220. That's pretty good. That is way above average, to say the least. I mean, that is at least, I would say, if you're number 220 all time, you got to be in the top 20% all time, I would say, at bare minimum. I don't know if it's that good, but, it may be. It may be. And I may be a little biased on this because I love the show so much, but I think it could be top 20% all time. I started Russian Doll Season 2, and it was so bad that I stopped at it. You know what? I didn't even finish the second episode, which is sad because I really enjoyed the first season. I was looking forward to watching the second season, but I just didn't like the way they were doing things. Spoiler, how the subway would travel her back in time. So then she was her mom. It was just weird. It was just weird. Not a fan. Not a fan, which is shitty because, again, I like Natasha Lyonne. Leon. What's up, LaFonda? You're making some loud ass noise. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Natasha Lyonne, but not on this one. You missed me on this one, Russian doll. You're cut out of my life. Lastly, I did see Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Pretty good, pretty good. Not as big of a movie as I think the trailers led you to believe. Like, I heard people thinking this movie was going to be on the level of a Avengers movie or like a Captain America Civil War. I wouldn't even say this was the level of the last Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. It was still a pretty much intact movie. It was pretty big, don't get me wrong. The multiverse level added a whole other literal dimension to these movies. And I would say on that point, it's pretty big and grand, but it's fleeting, it's quick. And I won't go into spoilers. Unfortunately, assholes already released all them before the movie came out. But I did good. I stayed away from all of that shit. I will say it was better than I thought it would be in some areas, and not as good as I would hope it would be in other areas. But just in sheer terms of entertainment, it's pretty damn good. Sam Raimi, welcome addition to the Marvel directors. I think he did a great job. I guess I can give you one little spoiler. He did put Bruce Campbell in there. I'm a big fan of Bruce Campbell, and if you're a Sam Raimi fan, you know those two are always in each other's movies. And yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch brings it. Elizabeth Olsen brings it hardcore. I mean, she is awesome in this movie. And that's all I'll say. I'm not going to go into deets. I'm not going to go into plots or anything. And I will say the ending was satisfactory. There really is no loose ends, which is nice to have in a Marvel movie. Because I will say that Marvel is making some pretty shite movies lately. The exception being the Spider-Man No Way Home, and now this one. As much as I liked Shang-Chi, it was still an okay movie. It's comparable to some other Marvel movies that were just kind of average to me. I did not like Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow movie. I wasn't a fan of the Eternals. Was there another one in there? Oh, I didn't see any of the Venom movies. Well, I take that back. I saw the first Venom movie and it was so bad I drugged myself into forgetting it. I did not see the sequel. I'm not going to see Morbius. Any of those Fox Marvel movies just look so shit to me. And it pains me because I love, love, love Venom. Venom was my favorite Marvel character as a kid. I liked him even better than Spider-Man. And he was on par with Batman to me. Yeah, it was always those three: Batman, Spider-Man, and Venom. Oh, and they just fucked my boy Venom bad. And Tom Hardy is a good character for him, but those movies are just so... Ugh. I'd rather watch late-term abortions. I kid. Oh, I know, that upset LaFonda here. I know, I shouldn't make jokes about Tom Hardy. But let's see. With that, I think we're done with the reviews. I think we're close to wrapping up here. Oh, yeah, I didn't tell you on my little personal horror show that was a couple nights ago. My lady friend that I spoke about on the podcast a few times, Bernadette, is the name she wants to go by. She was heading my way for a little dinner and friendly time. And she was supposed to be here by a certain time. And that certain time eclipsed. And it started to be 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour. And I was messaging her. But I knew she was driving, and she lives about an hour and a half away in this goddamned awful traffic we have in this state. She was north, coming down south my way. No pun intended. And yeah, we expected it to take over an hour, but when it was over 2 hours and I was getting no response from her, I started to really think the worst. And I wasn't upset. I was more concerned because I understand when it's raining here and the roads are slick and with the congestion, you just can't be too careful these days. So I planned for the worst, but I was hoping for the best. I thought maybe she just stood me up, but that did not seem like her at all. She's not that kind of person. So lo and behold, I got a phone call from her, and I picked up, but it was not her. It was her daughter, which scared me right away because I thought, oh shit, what happened? And sure enough, she got in a little accident on the way to my house, and she was at the hospital. And I'm not going to go into the personal details. That's not my story to tell. She's okay. It was not a major accident or anything, but she did have to stay the night in the hospital. And I spoke to the daughter briefly, and the daughter told me when she was conscious, the first thing she told us was to call Angelo. I thought, oh my God. Oh man, it was so awful and tragic. And I've spoken to her since. Everything is okay. Bernadette is fine and at home and resting. She's not quite sure what happened. I felt real crummy about it because I thought, wow, she would not have been in this situation. She would not have gotten in an accident if she wasn't driving to see me. I'm not worth this. I'm not worth an hour and a half in traffic, let alone a car accident. So I felt real gloomy and I felt awful for her family, specifically her daughter. And it was just a bad night. It was an awful night. And then I felt bad about feeling bad because why am I feeling bad? I'm not the one that got into the accident. I'm not the one whose child had to call someone that she's never spoken to before and tell them this awful news. And so I was just spiraling because I was beating myself up, thinking I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of a long drive. I'm not worth getting in a car accident over. It was, it was a freak accident, But of course, I am my worst enemy. But I spoke to her the next morning. We chit chatted about it. We figured everything out. It could not have been a better outcome, in my opinion. And it sounds like the vehicle's okay as well. So, oof. But what awful phone call you have to make. I think the reason it hit me so hard is when I was speaking to her daughter about the accident, I could hear in her voice, she was scared, and deservedly so. Who wouldn't be? And it just reminded me of the phone calls I had to make after my sister's passing. You try to put on a good face, you try to put on a good voice, you try to walk with your chin up a little bit, and just so people know you're doing okay. You don't want to be a burden to anybody, but you have to take care of business. You can mourn or grief later. And it's a tough comparison because one, you're dealing with death, and the other one, you're dealing with a car accident where she's conscious and awake. But I'd still, that phone call is awful to make, and that's my only comparison. So I felt just so bad for her daughter. But hey, she's fine. Everyone's fine. The car is okay, and everyone's back home resting and taking it easy. But just scary, just scary. And why the fuck does it take an hour and a half to go 20 miles in this fucking county? Jesus, get your shit together, King County. But anyway, on that happy note, no sports talk this week. You guys lucked out. There's nothing much to talk about. The Seahawks training camp, not much happening there, and the Mariners suck balls. So, nothing new. So I think we'll end it here. So I love y'all. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Don't be a judgy cunt. And love your family because you just don't know what may happen around the corner. I have a lot of old timer family members right now, and we have a long email thread where it's just a bunch of boomer, older senior citizens talking about all of their many ailments. And I read it to keep abreast of what's going on, of course, because I do want to help in where I can. But good God, it just reminds me how fleeting your health can be, let alone your life. So if you're like me and you have older relatives and you're close with them, stay in touch the best you can. Meet with them, Zoom video call them, text them, email them, however, just stay in touch, because when they're gone, they're gone. And I know it's kind of a stupid thing to say, a cliche stereotype thing is, oh, you never know what you got till it's gone. Every rose has its thorns, all that kind of bunk bullshit. But when it's right, like that cocksucker Rand Paul. And you just have to say, you know what, Gramps, or you know what, Grams, or you know what, Auntie or Uncle, whoever, anyone who's old and unhealthy, you know who they are in your family. And if you care for them and respect them or love them or just barely can stand them, but you have this obligational duty imbued in your genetic code from a childhood that you have to always stick up and stand by family no matter what, which, hey, I think some of the smarter people bailed out of that sinking ship a long time ago, but people like me and many of you out there still think it is a ship worth sailing still. Well, I think that metaphor kind of works. So just give them a call, take them out, whatever. Just let them know how you feel about them. So anyway, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox here. I'm going to go get high and watch a movie. So peace out, bitches.
I love you like a fat kid love cake. You know my style. I say anything to make you smile.
Yeah, there we go.